meeting of Fairport Industrial Development Agency together. And we have public comment. We have a guest, Brian Mayu, is here to talk to us about some plans and some thoughts that he has on properties he recently acquired. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to start with you, Brian. As Kevin said, Brian is the new owner of the former Crystal Picks at 84 South Main and has under contract the Dozier Funeral Home at 76 South Main, or yes. So Brian's moving his existing business, which is in Pittsford, into the Crystal Picks business, has acquired the neighboring business, and we'd love to hear about your plans and what you might be up to over there.
Awesome. Thanks, John. So John's invited up here to visit with all of you guys. Interesting timing. Today was our first day in the new office. So good.
Welcome.
So, thank you.
Where'd you have lunch? Oh, it's Monday, no
It was a
place.
working lunch.
Nobody's
Today
open.
for everybody on our team. So
That's
it's
great.
done really well. So it's kind of fun for us. We're bringing 10 new people to the village that run our team. So that's been really neat for us. The majority of our team is really excited. All our team is really excited to be in the village. It's a different environment than on Route 96, where I spent the first 25 years of my career. So it's been a good experience so far, but to me, our environment is incredibly important to me. That's why I'm buying the building next to me, because I want to control the environment around me. The nicer things are around here, the better they are for me and for everyone in town. I've spent some time talking to John about the building next door and what our plans might be for that. Which interestingly, there's people that kind of seem to be coming out of the woodwork that want to rent it from us already, which is fascinating. We don't own it yet, but there's various opportunities, and that's where my conversation with John really revolved around. Was there's some that just want to rent it, put a business in there. Some would be mixed use, where they're keeping an apartment upstairs and then business downstairs. And then there's even a third option, which I could put kind of a co-working or type of office business inside of it myself and so chose. So there's kind of the three things that we're looking at. I would like to think that by the middle of May, we will have decided which route we're going, and we'll be kind of full steam ahead. We'll own it at that point. So we work on a pretty quick pipeline or deadlines. Like once we make a decision, we just move in that direction. But my conversation with John are revolved around: is there ways that we can partner together with you guys where there's things that you hope to see in the town,
Village.
hope to see improvement in the town, different people in the town.
Village.
Sorry.
We always have to caution you.
I mean this place right here. In the village, yes, where we want to be. So John had mentioned there's maybe things. So on 84 South Main, I mean, I'm going to submit an application for the front porch grant.
Facade.
Facade. You know, village facade.
That's okay. Well, we do have
We
a
have
front
two
porch
programs.
grant program,
Okay.
and that's residential,
Okay, got it.
but the sign facade frontage is commercial. So that's why I wanted to make that
Well,
distinction.
you guys are tough.
You're gonna get the lingo. You got it.
So yeah, so we're gonna submit that for 84 South Main here in the very near term. And then our questions revolve around computer home, which is obviously not the prettiest building in the world, and we do to make that a little bit nicer and a little bit more desirable for the village. So that's where our conversations kind of started, and has led me here to all you wonderful folks. Don't have to share questions that anybody has, or things that we're thinking about.
The carriage house behind your office building,
Yeah.
what is happening with that?
So currently we have that rented out to Rain Caroline, Crystal Picks.
Okay.
So they'll be there for a couple more years. And then we'll take it over eventually.
So John has probably shared with you, probably referred you to our different plans that we have and comprehensive plans that the village has done themselves. Kind of gives our target stuff, and mixed use is key for us right now. We like to see a residential component. It also, if there is a residential component to, if you were to do the funeral home, I think that opens up a couple of more sources for grant or loan opportunities if there is a residential component. So that's something to keep in mind. I think that's kind of what we're focused on as we've been growing.
There would be need, maybe I just haven't done far enough to get clarity on what those opportunities would be if we kept it mixed use. Right. So for me, it's partly I wanted to be the environment I wanted to be. my office next door to that. But then it's gonna come down to just economics for me, it's gonna make the most
Sure.
sense for me beyond
course.
that. So if I don't know if that's something you can speak to right now, if that's something I just need to dig into, find out what that.
You can kind of go offline with Jonna, and she would help you out with that. But those kind of grants might come. We might have opportunities through our urban renewal agency as opposed to the IDA or the LDC because of the residential aspect to it. So,
Okay.
Yes. If it were to remain completely commercial, and this is something we talked about a little bit, and I don't want to cut off other board members from having an opportunity to speak. Without the residential component, we may have an opportunity through the IDA and the LDC together, depending on the intended use. So the incentives that we have are around improvement of the property, as we've talked about, and jobs. So if you are if you're adding housing for mixed use, then we look at our urban renewal agency and we look at the sources of funds over there and how can we craft or offer the right program there. And then if you were going strictly commercial, we would look at a combination of the local development corporation and the industrial development agency, again, depending on the intended use and the improvements, and put together some kind of incentive or offering should it fit the priorities of the organization.
job creation is one of the keys
Yeah.
to what John was talking about there.
Is that job creation, me creating the jobs, or me having the building and then therefore
If,
somebody's?
if
leasing it?
you brought in a firm like yourself that is going to move in 10 employees or something like that.
Yeah, so you don't have to employ them. Like Kevin just said, you could attract them, and that could be the count towards your job. But there still would have to be some improvement on the property.
Mhm.
Which, yes, sir, that's what that would be, right?
Yes.
Good. Glad to hear that.
And I think the payment in lieu of taxes program is structured so that we have incentives for different uses, which we prioritize. So I think there is the governance committee worked on it last year. I think there's a more incentive for housing under that.
Housing and specific types of businesses that would operate in the space. That's always curious too, just piggybacking on Donna. Can you, Brian, tell us a little bit more about the business that employs 10 or 10 or so employees that you are operating out of the current location?
Absolutely. So we manufacturing planning firm started 25 years ago. We work primarily with people that are 5 years to retirement, through the course of retirement is our target market. So we spend the majority of our time. We're one of probably 5 firms in Rochester that specialty in what we do.
And what is the name of your firm?
It's the Maybe Financial Group.
Oh, okay.
Financial Group. Northwestern Mutual is our broker dealer. So it's grown over time, and we're adding a new employee. Actually, next Monday is his new day. And we're not just out there, it's going to keep people involved. And it's really being a firm and growing firm that just goes on beyond to be this factory eventually. Initially.
That's awesome. And tell me this, before folks started coming out of the woodwork with really good ideas about how to use the property that you're acquiring, what was your thought? You mentioned controlling the environment around it, but did you have a vision of how you would use that space when you were initiating the idea?
No, it drives my wife nuts. I just
like that.
knew that 3 years from now I would have been upset with myself if I didn't buy it.
Okay.
And for me, it's more about keeping the village really nice, getting it up to the standards that I want. I'm doing that with 84 South Main. Like, we want to raise the standards, and who comes in there? Like, there's people that want to put a restaurant in there, and that doesn't suit me, and therefore that's knocked out, right? So it's gonna have to be something that fits. Like, we've got a psychologist that wants to be in there. We've got another office that wants to be in there. One of them would be kind of a mixed use thought. One wants the entire thing. So there's various things that kind of exist, and both of them probably fit the mold for me.
Okay.
Which kind of is part of the reason I'm here, is to try to delve into, like, which option, is there a better option from this perspective, or do I just say this stuff doesn't really matter, just move out my own direction and make it work, right? And select one of them and move down that road.
it's helpful. It's helpful to hear your perspective. And I think understanding a little bit more what your vision is, even though hearing you that it's evolving, helps us in our wheels turn on what might be a way we can support it. I think generally diversification, right? So when you think about what you don't want next door, and thinking about what we do want next door, it's generally how can we continue to broaden the commercial opportunities that serve the community around, right? And job creation. Donna's comment or question around the pilot. There's professional and tech centric entities that we would welcome, right? Trying to do exactly what you are doing, which is bringing more professionals into the village to take advantage of all that surrounds you here, gets you into a far more walkable place than Route 96.
Absolutely.
So helpful to have this first conversation amongst many others that we'll have to explore options. But welcome any other thoughts you have in regards to what you would potentially welcome next door. You mentioned, we talked about the mixed use piece. If that is appealing to you, fire away with other thoughts you might have that we haven't covered yet.
Yeah, so I would say it's equally as appealing as just having one tenant in the entire building that's a commercial type of thing, right? So if the psychologist's office said they currently want the first one, they said I want the entire building, that's easier for me, right? Can I split it up and have mixed use and have a residential upstairs and a commercial or psychologist downstairs? Yeah, that works. I'm not opposed to either one of them, quite frankly, and I want what's going to work for me, for that building, for the village. And I guess I was hoping to get clarity from all of you on, geez, if you move out in this direction and you do the mixed use, we can help you with this, and that's going to make a big deal. And if that's not the case, right, and I guess that's part of my conversation with Jana was, I knew that the facade was an option, and I guess I understand what that didn't really matter what we did. But if it kind of stopped there, that's great. I appreciate any help we can get from you guys. But then I'm just going to go back and say, okay, let me just look at the numbers. What's going to be most convenient for me in order to do that? But if it goes beyond that, you guys are like, no, we really need this, and it's going to be very helpful, and we can put these programs in place to help you. Then, geez, that would be something I want to know about so that I can make better decisions.
Well, we do have programs through beyond the facade improvement. There are other programs available, as we mentioned, either possibly including the IDA or urban renewal, depending on that mix. Rod touched on one of our targets for new expansion, new people coming into the village is professional services. That would be important. An architect's office goes in there. Those kind of professional, CPA, anything. We like the idea of a 10-person workforce, and a younger workforce that is going to take advantage of the things that Fairport has to offer now. The restaurants, the music, the night scene, all of that stuff. So we want somebody coming in there if we had our choice. If it was just strictly, who's the best fit for that? That's what we're going to look towards and say that really works for us. But it is professional services.
That'd be a fantastic fit as far as I'm concerned. It kind of aligns to what we do. I mean, different field, but similar concept. Very much aligns to what I would enjoy myself.
Folks that need to park in the village during the day as opposed to like 9 p.m.
Yeah.
But that's the nice thing about that property too. It has wonderful parking.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, which is another reason I wanted to have that for parking for both. So,
Leslie,
Well, Rob, you got my stuff, so I'm enjoying listening.
he copy your notes again?
Hmm?
Was he copying your
Will you
notes?
turn your
Exactly.
laptop just go this way a little bit?
I know, just I'll make sure you can see it. Now move my type up a little bit.
Charlie, you and I had just by time together. Am I asking the right questions today?
Yeah, you are. I think the not challenge, but so the benefits that we have to offer are really dependent on what you're going to do. And what you're going to do is somewhat, you're considering going to be informed by the benefits we have to offer. And it's a little bit of a flow chart where we start. It's like, okay, well, what are you going to do? You're going to do something commercial. Okay, then our URA is out. But you might do something mixed use. So maybe we could do something through the URA. So maybe the best next step is for you and I to have a little work session offline to walk through some of those scenarios, because we can say, okay, well, what are you going to do? And then we go, well, what is the scope to which you're going to do it? And if you're going to do something big and impactful, the benefits allowed may be bigger or give you more consideration than if you were doing something smaller. So I think that's why they're having a hard time saying, well, we could do this for you, without fully understanding what you might want to do. And you don't know what you're going to do because you don't know, like, well, if I did this, then I can get this kind of support for my project. So it might be helpful for us to have a little more deep dive session and walk through some of those details. Numbers are a factor, whether it's the size of your project, the scope of the redevelopment, or the jobs number or the housing number, because we use those things in a formula that say, well, if he's going to bring 100 jobs, you could give him like, ooh, the whole red carpet of services. But if he's bringing 2 jobs, then we have to scale it back to what by our policy we're allowed to do.
And even continue it with like a mixed use opportunity, right? And then if you, with the housing component of that, if you consider attainable housing options, in other words, potentially considering below market rate options, there's further incentives we can offer. So it's even if we get into mixed use and you definitely decide on housing component, then there's more conversation we can have related to that.
I was going to say, it's sort of like a choose your own adventure. You know, remember those books you talked to John about, like, okay, I'm interested in this, flip to page 42. Here are some things we can do. Okay, then I think once you kind of have a sense of where your comfort level lies with different things, you and Jonna can map out some stuff, and then we'll be able to provide help.
We can do that. And I guess I am not planning enough detail. Certainly, in my mind, everything's simple. But I think, okay, hey, we're going to rent this place out. We're going to say $1,000 a month, whether I rent it this way or this way. So it doesn't really matter to me which way I rent it out. I'm getting the exact same economic value coming in the door. And then that was my question to you guys to say, okay, geez, I'm getting the same economic value renting it. Do you guys have a preference which way I go? And is there like extra push from you to get it one way or the other? But I guess that's where you and I need to spend time to see what those may be.
Mm-hmm.
Can I comment on being Gallup? So from a comprehensive plan perspective, some of the things that this team is talking about, you know, not that there are any doctor's offices that aren't directly related to either UR Medicine or Rochester Regional, doctor's offices, or you were mentioning a psychologist. However, on the other hand, if you talk about housing, since we are part of being a pro-housing community, while there's opportunities this group may be able to help you with, there might be something from New York State that we can look at. I'm not sold on that. I'm just saying there's opportunities to look and see if there's any assistance from that avenue as well, because Fairport is taking the step to be considered a pro-housing community. So adding housing versus just remodeling existing housing is different. Those, you know, if you're adding new units of housing, that might provide an opportunity as well.
Would John be the one to ask about that? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Do you have stuff? Well, we appreciate you coming in here and talking to us, because we understand the financials, we understand the property ownership and landlords and what they're up against. And most of the time, when someone comes into the village, they just go to the bottom line number, and that's fine. We understand that, we get that, we live with that. But we appreciate you coming in here and just kind of asking us, what do you guys might be looking for, what you might be able to do for us. We appreciate that. We appreciate you committing to it. If it works out that we can't do something to help you narrow that gap between, you know, what's best for you and what might benefit others, that's cool. You know, we're good with that, but we'd like to help. And so I hope something comes out of this, as well as with your further conversations with Jonna, that will give you a little picture of what we look for, what we think about Fairport, what we think might be good for Fairport.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thanks for coming in.
Anything else from anyone?
You're welcome to stay.
Should I?
You want to be bored? Well, there be snacks.
Oh, there is.
It's very rude.
I think, compared to I've heard it's going to be a cannabis store, or it's going to be another venue for a bar and restaurant, or
She's glad it's going to be
through the mall. They
not
all
a
come
outside
through
of
the door. It's really exciting what you're presenting as it to be an opportunity for.
Excellent.
Look forward to more conversations.
Thank you.
with
All right.
Look
Thanks,
forward to
guys.
working with you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks for
We'll
coming.
talk soon. All right.
Welcome to the village.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome.
Village.
So
Thank you.
much.
Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the February 17, 2026 meeting minutes. Motion.
Second.
Any corrections or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Financial reporting, starting with resolution 2026-03, authorizing payment of the IDA bills.
I reviewed the bills and I would make a motion to approve the payment. To note the escrow fund payment, they didn't receive the last check.
So this is just a reissuance of the prior check.
I'll second.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we have our cash balances and other financials. Questions on any of those or comments, Jonna?
No significant updates. I will just note, we received payment from Canal Side for their school and town tax this week after this report ran. So Canal Side is Peckett's Landing. So if you were looking for that, it has been received. It's not reported on here yet. Just an FYI.
All right, and we have the investment report. Anything there for anyone? Okay, let's move on to the executive director report.
Okay, so DRI announcements have started. They announced 2 DRI awards so far, one in Madison County and one in St. Lawrence County. They announced a DRI in each county and 2 New York forwards in each county. We haven't seen anything queued up so far for announcements this week, but it seems that a couple of days in advance, our intel has told us that the communities that are receiving the award are getting an invitation to come to this economic development announcement. So we will expect that the village will get that invitation sometime in the next few weeks. And then we will hear one way or another. But so far, just those 2 have been announced, and Finger Lakes is usually at the end. Question?
The New York Forward grants, are those were applied for specifically as New York Forward?
Yes.
Correct? They were not DRI people that's second place DRI person got $5 million.
Not to my knowledge, that is correct. Like you have to identify and say, I am applying for this. And I haven't heard yet that it has been, you applied for a DRI and they came around and said, instead, we're going to give you a New York Forward. There have been communities that pursued a dual path and then at one point had to make a decision, apply for this or apply for that.
There weren't any New York Forward grants that were applicable to the village that were applied for?
When you apply, you have to make a choice. And so the grant source is the same and the approach is mostly the same, but it's around scope and size of what your projects could be. So when we went out for our call for projects, we came up with $77 million of projects, and that informed our decision to pursue the DRI grant. And if we had only come up with $12 million, we would likely not have applied for DRI and would have applied for New York Forward instead, but through the same process.
Thanks for explaining.
So probably another couple of weeks at least, but keep your fingers crossed. Most may be aware, but the DeLand House is for sale. The DeLand House is selling the DeLand House and the building and the businesses together as one offering. So that includes the 3 restaurants, the Blind Pig, Main and Vine, and the event space in the main building. It does not include the gift store. They will likely find another location for the gift store. So there's a listing out there right now. Kim Rose is working with Caliber on the listing. And so if anyone is aware of folks, feel free to send them my way. I can put them in touch with the agent, but there's a listing out there. And the priority from the seller's perspective is to find an owner who's going to give it the same care and see it into the same use as she did. So not looking to flip it over to a doctor's office or a financial services firm, as much as we may love those here in this village. The goal for her is to find someone who's going to operate it in the current use form. It's got a great parking lot, in case you're not familiar, prime location near Main and Church, and we're hopeful to get something great in there. Brief update on Iron Smoke.
That, there's another property that has recently come up for lease, which is an interesting property, the Papalardo building, which is on North Main Street, right next to
Fireside and the veterinary.
in between the veterinary and Fireside.
Yes.
Yes.
The brick law firm?
Yeah, that has recently come up for lease, not for sale. Yeah. But I mean, that's an interesting property that we can hope something good comes in there.
Iron Smoke, just an update. I think last week we had expected they would close in March, and they're not going to close in March. Just want to pass that along. Question from a legal perspective. I think this came up maybe last time, Ed. Is there a point at which it's gone too far past the expected close date?
Usually we ask that after about a year, if there's a reason past a year.
Okay. So,
but they don't generally, we don't have an expiration date on those because sometimes hiccups can occur like this did. And so, the resolution is good until such time as you decide that, after a certain amount of time, they usually would have to look at, the project's probably changed in some form or fashion. So they would have to come back for some type of reapproval. So.
Okay. Any comments?
And that's the process. If there were any type of substantive change to the project, whether in scope or cost impact, it would be a different resolution that would come before the board.
Most likely, yeah, depending on what's changing. Yep.
Lastly, well, we don't always hit all of these. We've got several new businesses opening. Lucky Penny at Packett's Landing. Also at Packett's Landing, we have Winter Swan is opening. We approved a facade grant for them in our last meeting. They've got our sign up. And another new tenant at Packett's Landing is Heroic Arts Tattoo. So they're really working on filling up space there. Not aware of anything else yet committed, but they're working on a couple of other options.
John, what's Lucky Penny?
Lucky Penny is a gifts, books, and other boutique.
Yeah, like stationery, baby toys,
Okay.
boutique-y.
I was told it's
Boutique.
very similar to the Village Green. Remember the Village Green bookstore? In fact, they were in Fairport at one time. They were at the
Really? I had
Village.
no idea about
I mean,
that.
they had, as a second location, they were in,
Yeah.
in Village Landing.
I do expect their books to be like much more curated. So not to directly compete with it. They don't call themselves a bookstore. You're not going to find all the books there, just a curated list of the best sellers and that are, targeted to whatever is the demographic. What else is relevant about them? They're having a ribbon cutting next week. You're welcome to join. It is on any help from
Friday, I want to say 3:30.
Friday the 27th. Oh, thank you. Friday the 27th. 3:30.
Yeah, if you send us out a note.
Okay. That's it.
For the new businesses.
That's it. Got any others?
That I can think of. No update on the.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't read all these other ones. I'm so
Okay.
sorry. I thought I said these others, but I got distracted by Lucky Penny. That's it in Packett's Landing. We also have in the cannery on the Main Street side, Macate. It's a Mexican restaurant. They're working on construction there right now.
That's the glass frontage on the.
Yes,
And
Well,
they
they have
are
an
in,
upper seat.
also in Webster.
they are in. Is it Webster? I think it's like
There's
Mass.
Macedon up in Macedon, there's one by RIT, I think there's one up in Webster, up kind of near the theater. There's one in Arundel too. I've been to several.
I was gonna say. Jonna, is there a plan to use some of that exterior area for outdoor seating? Do you know?
Yes. Also in the cannery, right behind Macate, is Spoke Fitness. They have a couple of locations. They have a Victor location right now. They are closing their Victor location. They were always closing it, and that now they're moving here. So that's what's happening at the cannery. Great to have a daytime use there and not something that's going to compete with Macate for the parking there. And then on Main Street at 1 North Main Street in the Millstone Block building is a bread and pastry, coffee and pastry shop opening in the old Mescalata Men.
Oh. Gonna be,
Working in that
need
building?
to go to the
There's gonna be
Spoke after I eat my way through.
Say that again?
They're preparing food in that building?
They're not preparing the food,
Oh, I see.
they're reselling the food. Okay, now I am done with my new business.
It's an exciting report.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Stuff.
That was great.
Old business. None. Anyone has anything for old business? New business, the remote meeting policy discussion that we talked about. And Ed, I guess, can
Yeah.
walk us through
Happy
what
to.
he has presented here.
Yep. This one references the LDC, but the idea here is that each agency would have its own separate policy, though the policies would be identical. This policy is based upon the recent state law that was passed after COVID that basically allows for boards to meet with the option of some or all of the participants being remote. The catch here, though, is if someone is remote, you have to have a quorum here at this location, the main location. So that way, whoever votes here, that you have the quorum, and so that, because the idea here is those who are not in a place where the public is able to engage with them directly shouldn't be considered for voting purposes.
Okay. That's been a question
Yep.
over the years.
Yep. So, but they will count their vote, though, in the vote. As long as you have a quorum here, their vote will count. If you don't have a quorum, their vote doesn't count. So just so you're clear on that. And then the other point is, if there's an emergency, obviously the entire board can be remote. So
If you don't have a quorum here, though, nothing's getting done.
nothing's getting done. Correct. Yep.
So it's
Yep. You always have to remember.
point.
Yeah. The idea is that they want you to have a physical presence and have the majority of the board at that location, but allows for other members who can't be available for whatever reason to be able to participate remotely. So
Makes sense.
Can we,
This is minor. I just saw that it said, during a state of emergency declared by the governor of New York or by appropriate officials of the village of Fairport. So in the, whatever meeting it was, January, February, it was emergency declared by Monroe County.
Mhm.
So is that kind of inclusive of the village?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, because it would apply to the village.
Okay.
Yep, anything that happens in the county applies to the village.
but is your question, Monroe County declared the state of emergency, not the governor?
Right.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Yes. Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Can I ask a definitional question?
Yep.
So as I understand this, in order to be not present and have yourself included,
Mhm.
it has to be if you meet extraordinary circumstances.
Mhm.
There's the list of 5 items. Could you help me understand, other than sort of the obvious things before it, what significant or unexpected factors would be? For example, would like work travel that left you in a
Yes.
different state qualify as significant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, anything that the board is comfortable with a board member being in a
Missionary
statute
work.
is
Yes.
extraordinary. Yes.
Missionary work.
Missionary work,
Missionary work, yes. So
Third world countries.
public,
the idea is it's up,
personal health days. Right.
some boards tend to be more specific about
Right.
what they actually have a list of things that are approved. Other boards want to be more loose about those, and that's the state was perfectly fine with that approach. So it's
That
up to
helps
the
me, so
board
long
to
as it's
set.
significant
Yep.
is a board discretionary term.
Yep.
Thank you.
The only thing I will note is, unlike all your other policies that you can adopt, this one the state requires you to hold a public hearing for. So
Seriously.
yes. So so what I
this
need
is just an introduction.
This is an introduction for tonight. So what we need to do, if you're interested in moving this policy forward and hearing the feedback from the public, for each of these organizations, you'll need to move to hold a public hearing in relation to this, and then we'll schedule it after some. We'll set a date for some other time. Most likely the day before the next meeting, so or the day of the meeting.
We have to have a public hearing 3 times?
No, one public hearing covering all 3 entities. So we'll just publish it. Our office will help you publish it for all 3 entities.
And that would be for next month.
Next month. Yep. Probably do it at like 4 o'clock before the next IDA FLDC if you want to do that. So
Actually, it can be an agenda item, couldn't it be the first item?
yes, you could hold it as part of the thing too. Yes. Yep. And like you do with the village meeting, you open it up at the village meeting and you close it at the end of the meeting. You could do that too.
I'm sorry, I have one other question.
Yep.
In the event of an emergency where the
Mhm.
entire board would be participating remotely, does that modify in any way like the notice requirements? I know that one thing that came up recently when we did that as a result of the state of emergency was like, how do you get the notice out? How does that work with this?
It's as practical. I mean, it allows for example, the night before,
Okay.
the governor or the county exec or the village mayor declares a state of emergency. It's reasonable practical. So you still have to some form or fashion send out a notice. As long as you've made a best effort to send out the notice, that's all that's required. Ideally, it's usually 72 hours, but obviously these are emergency circumstances. So, if you're closed because of a snowstorm or closed because, whatever the case may be, it's discretion. Yep.
Wonderful, thank you.
If we don't enact this policy
Mhm.
and there's an emergency, like
Mhm.
the last time,
Mm-hmm.
our options are, the approach we took last time. We held a remote meeting and we ratified it following.
Correct.
That's it. And
That's
I
it.
guess just my point, or I just want to make sure I'm understanding, is that because this is governed by open meetings law, there's no casual approach.
Correct.
So we have to either adopt this so that when there is an emergency,
Correct.
our meeting is legitimate,
Right.
or we take the approach that we did the
Yep,
last time
because
around.
the idea is, 20 years ago, if there was an emergency, you didn't hold a meeting.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's, yeah, and you just schedule it when it was available next. This allows you to still hold the meeting, but remotely. But in order to take advantage of that new approach that the state's now allowing, you have to have the policy in effect, and they want the public to have a chance to weigh in on that. So that's why the public hearing is required for this policy.
Okay. So that was an introduction. Next week will be, their next meeting will be public hearing, and we will vote on it following the public hearing.
Yes.
That same meeting.
Yep. You can do that. Yep.
Any more questions? And if you do think of something between now and then, certainly reach out to John or Ed or both.
Is this supposed to be a formal motion to be doing this?
No, it can just be just a. Well, no, you should have a first and a second to schedule a public hearing. You should do, yes. You should, because
Oh,
state
for the timing
mandates-
of the public hearing.
yeah, I would do a motion. I would have a motion and a second to schedule a public hearing.
So
All in favor?
Aye.
And based on Donna's comment, I will clarify that language. To just add the county and or any other, because I'm just thinking if there's a federal emergency, so.
Can I comment?
Mhm.
From personal experience, if you are, at least this is what I've been told by our legal counsel, if you are not attending the meeting live and you are going to be remote, you need to make public a location if a member of the public wanted to come and view the meeting with you. Whether anybody will ever do so or not is completely very unlikely, but that you are supposed to publicize through your meeting process that this member of the board will not be there and they will be viewing from XYZ Street in wherever they are.
I'm sorry. And the public is supposed to be able to join that person
Yes.
at their
That's
location?
from open meetings law, at least my attending classes, and
Sure.
clarifying this with, because, for example, next month, I will be in North Carolina when we do our vote for the budget, and I have to give an address that if a member of the public wanted to come join me to verify that I'm actually there, that you have to publicize an address of where you will be. I've gone through this a couple times because there's somebody in Rockport who was doing that, and I went and asked our attorney about that and asked NICOM about that, and yeah. So like the cannabis board, they have regular meetings where they have a quorum at one location in Albany, and they have other meeting locations. They have to publicize those other locations where the other board members will be for that meeting. Now, will someone join you? I haven't seen anybody who's wanted to join me at Crumble Cookies in North Carolina, because they have Wi-Fi.
Okay, so that's interesting.
Yeah, because I guess
Let's-
I'm wondering about the
No
hypothetical
offense there, but-
situation where I'm
Let's-
ill and I'm taking the call from my bed because
That's
I'm
a
ill.
that's a different situation. That would fall under emergencies. But if
Okay.
someone is attending remotely, like I know I'm not going to be here, maybe Kevin knows he's not going to be here, or someone else on the board knows that they're not going to be here. It's not an unplanned emergency. An unplanned emergency is different than I'm attending remotely.
Okay, you're hearing this discussion, Ed.
Yes.
Could you just maybe synthesize that and give us a recommendation, whether right now or
Yeah, so
in the
the
future
policy
to
does
how to
cover
do
that. It does talk about public location where members of the participating using remote connection. So it's a public location. If you're not in a public location,
Yeah.
then as she said, it's an emergency and
Got
you're not required to.
Emergency's a whole different thing.
Right. Yep.
Thank you.
I just think it gets really confusing, so it's useful to hear those definitions. 'Cause I've been confused since all of this got passed 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay. Any other discussion regarding remote? Any other new business? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Like there was a one
Four
more
of those
second.
motions.
You go into your LBC.
LDC. Doesn't matter.
Okay. All in favor?
I
We are going to LDC next. All right, I will open the March 16th, 2026 meeting of the Fairport Local Development Corporation. Call that to order. Ask us if there's any public comment. Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close that and we'll move to approval of the February 17th meeting minutes of the LDC.
Second.
Corrections or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, LDC financials. Start with resolution 2026-03, authorizing payment of the LDC bills.
I would make, you reviewed the bills and I would make a motion to approve them. As well as. Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We have our cash and investments and our P&L.
Just a note on the cash balances, we for a long time had a loan commitment in reserve, but that actually, after taking a closer look, was for Bonnie and Clyde. And so we had released those funds. And so those dollars, so no actual change in dollars, but the
No restricted.
no restricted, thank you.
Loan status report. Appears to be correct.
The first one,
Just a couple of items. The first one, sorry, go ahead.
the first one, 301, I guess is the number with it.
Yes.
Um,
Go, that's,
I know that there's a balloon payment coming. Have we checked into them lately?
Yes. They are aware of the balloon payment. They are going to pay in full as expected at the end of, or at the end of their loan period, which is May 1st.
any other questions or discussion on the LDC loans?
Jonna, do you have something to share?
I mean, I just wanted to point out, we did have a payment snafu with Josephine Jane in adjusting their payment schedule. They pay us automatically, but really what that means, it's not ACH like bank to bank. They have some kind of system that pushes a digital check to us, so we get a physical paper check. So to them, they're paying us automatically, but it's not going from their bank account to our bank account. So on their end, something a little strange happened in trying to adjust their payment schedule. So they have sent a new payment because their payment schedule changed, as you recall, we restructured it. And in adjusting their auto pay details, I believe, this is the explanation that's been provided, the payment didn't go and got pushed back to them. So as of last week, they've sent it back. And that is the current status. So have not yet received that check, but I do expect it for the reduced amount. That's it.
All right. Okay. Facade grant program. Start with how many are outstanding to be paid?
Outstanding to be paid still are Machetes, Lombardi's, Stahl, which is Millstone Block, and Winter Swan.
And Machetes has completed their work. Stahl, I'm guessing it's substantially complete.
It's hard to say. They continue to do work. They continue to do work. It looks like the work that they asked for us to support is done, but they haven't submitted to us for reimbursement. And they continue to do work.
And Lombardi's has not commenced their work, nor has Winter Swan. So I'm just looking here as to how much we are committed right now. 10,000, 17,000, $37,000 is what we have committed as of today for that. And that's just a note for as we have our discussion of what's happening next.
And that's noted in the cash investment table.
Oh, okay. So,
So we don't have any new applications. Today we were going to talk about the program, and that this was brought about by one of our applications last month from Winter Swan, which is in Packett's Landing, and it's a multi-tenant building with a property owner who's also investing in the property. So that was a new scenario so far based on the sign and facade grant. So we decided to, instead of reviewing the application from the property owner, we did receive, at the same time we had received an application from Winter Swan, we received an application for the property owner for adjacent work to that space. The reason that we didn't submit it to this board initially was not for that reason, but more we reviewed the applications in the office and we have to feel confident about them to recommend them to the board to approve. And I just needed a little more time to understand what they were actually doing and whether I would submit it for approval. After reviewing that application, if it was a standalone application, I wouldn't have any reason not to submit it to you for approval. There is some nuance to it. It is not for sign or facade. It's for patio and outdoor work. And that was added to the grant, I think, maybe in a revision before I got here, that type of work could be considered at board discretion.
And we have done that. And I think that may have been when we amended it when Junction 361 put their little seating area back, and there were steps and railings and the like involved, that we approved that for facade. And I think we may have amended the program to include landscaping and hardscaping. I think that's when that was.
So, but this discussion actually isn't about that application. It's more about, do we want to allow multiple applications from a multi-tenant property? So in the packet is the sign and facade overview. There is a sentence about halfway through in the first page that vaguely addresses that, and that's where we need some clarity. The total reimbursement shall not exceed $10,000 for any individual business or property. And so the question is, what was the intention of that? Was that, and maybe you weren't necessarily thinking of that at that time, but was it that only one tenant of Packets ever gets, or a property like Packets ever gets it? Or is it the property owner can apply one time themselves? Say I have like a big awning that goes over the front of my building. I'm going to apply for that. It's not specific to any business. So that's where I think there's some vagueness there that we need clarification on. But we've had a little offline conversation here and there. What are we trying to do with this grant? My recommendation would be to the board. We have had this grant open for a period of time, about 2 years. Not that long?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe the report that we've got goes back to 2023, but I think that's the beyond, the after you had opened that. This is the beyond the, I think the grant was opened and then it was adjusted and expanded, and this tracking is for post that. So the grant has been open for a number of years, and we're about to approach our strategic planning session coming up in April or May, where we review these programs and potentially change them or close them. So in the interim, we have one application maybe for consideration next month. Maybe there will be other applicants between now and then, but instead of trying to revise this grant program as it is, maybe consider these applications individually, but in the spirit of the intention, whether the language is exactly right. So if I am going to use an example of the property that we toured earlier this week, there was some discussion, could we use the sign and facade grant for these two features? Well, those two features don't really support attraction for the business, right? So does it really meet the requirement in the spirit that it was intended, whether this language is 100% clear or not? And if it did, then you would say, absolutely, it does support the intention for attraction of the business. Or if we were to look at Millstone Block, and you could obviously look at it and say, well, even if Mescalata had a sign grant, the point is not to keep the property owner from redoing the facade, right? The spirit of the program would have been to say, yes, property owner, we see how this project is separate from this project. So I would just encourage you to use the discretion you've already given yourself in the program to get to the end of this particular cycle, and then we can reevaluate the whole program post the strategic planning session. Those are my thoughts.
Well, Chair, I guess I get that, but now's the time when we're going to start to see lots of proposals come to us.
Hence, we're going to come up with an earlier planning meeting.
Okay.
But no, keep going to your point. Yeah.
You know, I think that now is the time that if we're going to make a change, we need to do it, because in May and June, when everybody's, when everything starts to open up again, maybe it's April and May, knock on wood, our business community is going to be starting to think about what they want to do next. Main Street looks different. They've got they've got more space. There's less grass. There's more space for them. It wouldn't surprise me that we're going to see more opportunities from some of the people who probably haven't been to us. Well, obviously, it's going to get people who haven't been to us, but we need to be ready to be prepared. And if we're going to make changes, now's the time to do it, because in May, June, July, we can't stop them. It would be unfair to pause the program for 2 or 3 months while we try and get ourselves into gear, because they want to be done by October 31st or August 31st or whatever their plans are. So I feel like we do need to move more quickly than that.
My suggestion wasn't necessarily to pause the program. It was to continue the program as is, and then post the strategic planning session, update the guidelines as to whatever the new guidelines or program might be.
And Mr. Business at, XYZ is looking at these guidelines today, making his plans, and then what if they're not the same? And he's made his plans. I guess I just want to be prepared for the spring, and the spring is practically here. So,
Jana, you said there are no current applications in front of you for this. Have people come to
No,
talk to you?
I do have that one application, the other application from Canal Side. I don't think we have anything else pending submitted. Had a couple of people express some interest. Brian Mayhew is likely going to submit a sign of facade grant. I had an inquiry from a tenant in the box factory, another multi-tenant property. So there's interest, but I only have that one application right now.
I think I would take a different view, Leslie, based on the history. So this program came about as the grant program that we set up quite rapidly for COVID. That came to an end, and then we said we'd still like to have these funds out there, these grant opportunities out there, and we created this program. I recall a discussion a year and a half ago, maybe it was a year and a half ago, when Martha was still here, that should we end the project? Should we end this? Right? Like it doesn't have to be around forever. The only expectation that's around forever is what we decide as a board if we want to keep that. And I also wonder if it's not an opportunity to, like with the DRI decision, right? If the decision is negative, I could imagine a couple scenarios. If the decision is positive, we say, okay, time to end this program. Let's retain our funds for other uses. And we end this grant program, and then we see what happens with DRI. If there's another grant program that we want to support that. Or DRI doesn't happen, and then we really dig into like what kind of grant money do we want for our businesses?
Question on DRI that I'm sure you have the answer to. I know that we have major projects, right? But we also have a miscellaneous project, small project component to that. Any chance that could be set up as a facade program for like really small projects, or?
In a way, but maybe not the way you're thinking about it. The thing about the DRI grant, we don't ever get the money. The village doesn't get the money. Every project enters into a direct contract with New York State. So yes, the merchants, every single one of them could come around and say, for my small project, I want to do this with my facade and this with my patio. And they could
$10,000 is not going to be worth it.
They could do that still.
It just wouldn't flow through
It wouldn't
us.
flow
It
through
wouldn't be a
us,
mechanism
right.
of funding this program.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah,
probably would not be as quick as we got.
correct.
For sure. My concern with this is when I know we had the discussion somewhat last week. We didn't have a unanimous vote. I had reservations. Rob had objections, but we approved it as is. My concern as I got thinking about this more, and knowing that this other project for that property was in the pipeline, where do we draw the line? Because we have some big properties. You have a Village Landing, you have a package lender. We're soon going to have another one that comes online at Canal Side Commons. It's the name of the 1000 Turk Hill Road. And I'd hate to see our money, which is finite. I mean, we don't have an endless supply of money. And if we look at our financials, which is going to be a very important thing that we talk about at our planning meeting, is LDC's financials. Now, if everything happens as we're proposing, or we're told it's going to happen when we close on that one loan property that owes us a balloon payment, there'll be another $125,000 that goes into it and stuff. But how quickly we can go through $100,000 giving out $10,000 grants, and there's a lot of them that want to do. And and I'd hate to see it go into the same property because a property owner is very aggressive and knows the program and is, I'm gonna go for every one of these.
Yeah, I don't think we ever envisioned
We did.
10,000
There
across
was-
every row of those
Exactly.
plazas.
We didn't envision that. I used the example of the Millstone Block building. If you had 5 tenants came in for an awning, but it was all a different tenant. There's a vagary in our plan. Maybe we could rely on that to say no. But that's my biggest concern with the program right now. Well, 2 big concerns: funding, and where's the source of our money going to come from? And the second one is multiple tenants or multiple projects within a property.
Well, the way it's written right now, Winter Swan is the only beneficiary of that Packett's Landing.
Because of the line, the total reimbursement shall not exceed 10,000 for any property.
NEM.
I guess a question I would have
Because
is,
he's not a property owner, he's a business owner,
but is property defined anywhere? Because I think a property, could a property also be a premises? Like the whole box factory is a property, but also a unit within it is a part of property in some manner. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't know.
I don't think it's defined specifically.
I think probably commonsensically interpreted as a whole property, but
But certainly, if we're looking at the program, if in fact we're going to continue the program, which is
Right.
a part of our discussion, we can clean up language, based on experience, not just like the planning board always does and zoning board does. You correct those things.
Yeah.
Something doesn't work.
I was thinking about it a lot, right? Because it's interesting to me. I was thinking about it after the last meeting, how often we do agree unanimously.
or we don't. Infrequently, we don't.
Either way, right?
Yeah.
Agree. But thinking about the initial trigger for this program, the board at that time probably had individual thoughts about what was motivating them to work towards it. When I think back, it was Main Street in mind,
Yep.
and it was individual properties that were far removed from a Packett's Landing, Canal Side, Village Landing. It was more the individual storefronts and how we could help them improve their physical commercial space in a time that was challenging, right? So it may be, I definitely personally, I'll only speak for me, I definitely didn't have a Packett's Landing Canal Side project in mind when we were marching forward with that program, or even as it continued, which is one of the reasons why I disagreed with the group last week, not on the value of the application, right? On the nose, it was exactly what we built that program for, but it seemed premature given where that specific business sits in this larger building, where I always envision larger buildings like that, larger structures like that, or properties like that would be a larger conversation where we help in whatever different levers we can pull as an organization to make projects happen, like a pilot. I think pilot came up in that conversation a month ago. So it seemed like it's good conversation for planning. It's good conversation for us to kind of spitball as a group with what it should look like in its next iteration, if we all agree that this iteration is needs to evolve. But the vision I had as one board member at that point in time is very much not a Packett's Landing application for that.
I don't think any of us really thought that through then. But if you mentioned Main Street, but we did amend the program specifically for visible from the public way.
You bet.
Meaning primarily the canal path.
You bet. Totally. And even,
But I don't think anybody thought of 1,000 Turk Hill
Right.
as part of the canal path either. Looking at that, and I suppose when we started this program, the idea of that property changing hands was pie in the sky dream.
all the more reason to revisit it regularly.
Yeah.
Evolve our approach.
because it sounds like I think everyone agrees that we should revisit the plan. Is the question just what the stopgap is between now and whenever that next meeting is?
I
Yeah, do
think
we
so.
put it
Like,
on
do you want to
pause?
continue to accept applications and review them as usual until it's redefined, or are we pausing it?
I think, I would think we should pause it and put it out there on, you know, the website that we're pausing it. Because the things that are out there are on properties that make us scratch our head. We have to, you know,
And they're potentially expensive grants, and I mean, you know, this isn't the $3,000 that we're contributing for somebody putting it on. It's,
you know.
they're more substantial than that, I think, as this, you know, people are taking advantage of that program, so big money.
So is our concern that individual business operators out of 1,000 Turk Hill would come to us for a facade grant request between now and
As
planning?
we are written.
Sure.
You know,
Could I,
He mentioned, well, when we
yeah,
did
my
our
pocket, he
rock,
wanted those windows on the
right,
backside
and
of
that-
the
that's
amazing
what
grain,
Donna was kind of alluding to,
you know.
you know, which isn't appropriate in itself, but he's well aware of the program. And yes, we can count on that he will be back for that as well.
what would happen if an application came up in the next month that was for like a freestanding building that wanted a grant? What would our approach be to that?
So they'd have to wait.
They would just have to wait.
If we were on pause, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I,
But if we were not on pause, then it would be,
It would be our
Consideration.
ordinary
it would be
consideration.
no different than Salvatore's,
No,
you know.
Right. I guess what I'm driving at is, under the way the policy is currently written, just throwing out ideas, could you say, if your property has already received a grant, you have hit your $10,000 criteria under the sentence we've talked about, but we are still accepting applications for other properties or what single occupant properties or some, is there a way to keep the ball rolling on things that maybe we'd be open to considering while placing a pause on the things that we're concerned about? I'm not sure the answer to that is yes, but I just want to throw out a brainstorm.
no, that's a good thought, and I'm not sure it even has to be put out as a notice, because it already says that in our interpretation.
exactly what I'm driving
You
is
already
that it's
have
discretionary.
discretion to
So we
do
have the
that.
discretion, and so as someone comes in to Amy or Donna to talk about a grant, you know, under the current plan, we are not going to provide more than one per building of property.
Or we can just accept the applications as we have been. If they pass our sniff test, we submit it to the board for consideration, and you have the discussion just like you're having this one right now. And if it's a freestanding building and checks all the boxes, then you have the ability not to hold things up. But if there's a question, then you have the discretion to say, we're going to table this until further.
Or your sniff test includes 1 grant per property.
Yes,
That's a
sure.
sniff test, and it doesn't even come to us.
I like the example, just maybe mostly for Heather's history, maybe, for her sake. I like the example of what we did at Junction. We did stuff for 360, we had an application, it was one application. Some of it benefited the business, some of it benefited, well, there was the ADA. and the
We had
stairs. That was
ADA,
not
which is
for-
90%.
That was not for Junction 360, it was in that
It was
building,
for the building.
but it didn't, yeah, and it was the owner, right, the property
Yeah, that was
owner.
Chris, right?
So in that example, the property or CASA submitted the application, and some components that benefited the building as an overall structure, and some benefited individual tenants. And it was ultimately up to CASA to decide how he was going to allocate like those benefits.
No, he gave us a plan of how he was going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that to me is part of the like broader discussion of what the overall program should look like. And I totally like that history and background is so useful for me. To me, the question of what you do for like a month or, right? Is it just a month or two that we're talking about here, Jenna?
Between now and our strategic planning.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna have this discussion when we can set that meeting as well.
I don't know, like, do you know what I mean? I feel like there's a little bit of it. Because that is to me the overall driving question is this, what are the property owner's obligations when they have multiple tenants, right? Like, that's the main question.
I recall a year or two ago, probably wasn't a year ago, must have been the last year Martha was here in full, you know, questioning this program. You know, it had been in operation at that point, 23, 24, and 25. You know, asking, do we continue the program? You know, anyone who, I recall her pushing the ADA stuff, you know, because that was
The library.
you know, those sorts of things up at, you know, so creative at the doors, you know, and pushing for that and getting a lot of no's, you know, and looking at the list of people who have, and businesses that have sought our funding, you know, and it was the steady eddies, the ones that usually are on top of things and get their paperwork in and take advantage of it. And after 3 years, you know, were we going to see an influx of more? You know, I remember looking at that. You know, we put it out there. It's been here 3 years. The ones, you know, everybody on Main Street's had this chance. You know, except for the Brady New ones, and that's it. And I remember we extended it and put the funds back in there. I don't ever remember the time.
But,
you know, considering every one of those businesses in those large plazas.
But we did not-
Cannery coming at us.
but we did not put the funds back in. So this is an important thing that we have to determine too, because we continued on without budget and said, we'll deal with them as they come along. We didn't allocate, I think we did a kickoff of 100 grand, maybe, as we started, and then subsequently we just kept hearing them. So as if we are going to continue the program, my recommendation that we set a hard limit on budget, and this is what we have available, and this is how much we're willing, instead of just, you know, looking at them as they, you know, we have a big bucket here, we can throw something at you. So that'll be something we need to do with budget.
Well, I like the idea of keeping the door open for an opportunity that is clean, for lack of a better word, something that fits it kind of on the nose over the next couple of months, and then making sure that there's a good, robust conversation about, you know, thinking about looking at all the different DRI components that we've presented through that plan, and thinking about how can we think big about incentivizing private investment, whatever, regardless of what happens with DRI.
And as we're looking forward on the project, we've had some major things to show for what we've invested. It's been a great program. There's a lot of success. Big stuff that's happened. And as you said, you look up and down Main Street, you can, and there's, you know, the people that have taken advantage of it. Does a program become a $5,000 instead of a $10,000? First, to encourage smaller stuffs, you know, to get back to signage, you know, nobody's really doing, you know, signage much anymore. Do we get back to a smaller amount? Again, for discussion as we work in the project. So I guess the question is, we need to agree on how Amy and Jonna are going to handle applications that come in and their SNP test. Is that sufficient to?
It goes by the, you know, using that paragraph, you know, total reimbursement shall not exceed 10,000 for any individual business or property in the layman's definition of property.
But also you mean the most absolute interpretation of that. It's not business or property. It's basically business and property when you're reading it.
Right.
So if 10,000 went to the business or 10,000 went to the property, that's it. That's the most strict view of that sentence, and that's what you're saying now.
And due to limited availability of funds, not all requests may be fully funded. I mean, we could short them. I mean, that sounds, you know what I'm saying? And then qualification for participation in the sign facade and frontage grant program will be at the sole discretion of FLDC. So, you know, we could say that not, you know, only one business at all those multi-use is eligible. And, you know, maybe if that was the way, then maybe the land property owner needs to work with the one that he wants to see improve most and make sure his 10 grand goes, I don't know. But by this definition, Winter Swan, last month, got the funds for the box, for Packett's Landing. Did it formally change its name to Canal Side something?
The building is still Packett's Landing. The property is owned by Canal Side LLC.
Okay, so the building is Packett's
The
Landing.
building is
Still
Packett's Landing, yes.
1,000 Turkill is Canal Side Commons.
Canal Side Commons, yes.
And just for clarity, in Packett's Landing, the only other application that's currently tabled there, the reason for it not being presented is not because of this, but it's because it's hardscaping that you are not sure would qualify
Correct.
otherwise.
Yes.
But hardscaping, you'll read that it is allowed.
It is in there,
in our guidelines.
But as we are interpreting that language and clarifying for you moving forward,
Well, here
it would be both. Meaning, there's not an initial $10,000 available for that property.
Do you mean this year or ever?
I mean, until we revisit this,
Well, it says one, it doesn't say annually, it just says will not exceed 10,000 for any individual business or property.
so
So that I would say is in perpetuity.
Mhm.
Under this program.
at least
We
until
need to clean
revisit
this up
it.
if we're gonna go forward.
Do you have concerns?
What's that?
Do you have any concerns from a legal perspective with how we're talking about applying this? Or have
No,
you not outlined?
you have discretion. It's such a small amount
Yeah.
that the idea that anyone would ever come and say, well, I think it was
Detrimental.
arbitrary and capricious, I'm going to sue you. I mean,
Oh, hell, we've had that from
Yeah.
court hearings.
so, but I mean, they're they're so
The
small.
definition of a
It's,
stoop.
you know,
Yeah,
Versus
oh
a
my
porch.
God.
It's debatable, right?
Planning board
See,
had
now
to
that
deal with
person I
the-
would like
with
to
the
spend
stoop.
time with, I love a definition.
You would have enjoyed that conversation here.
Oh, it was something.
We spent some time on
Here I am.
and you're granting funds essentially. So you have very broad authority
Okay.
on how you grant your
Just wanted to clarify that you didn't have a concern.
You can you take off.
Oh, okay. I'll wait till the end of this meeting, then I'll go.
All right, so,
Make it clean break.
We have to schedule a date for a meeting?
yeah, we've done it in May. John came to me and said, can we make that earlier? Because there's gonna be a lot of stuff like this happening. If we can get some things taken care of earlier, that would probably be good, so.
What's the timeline, like time commitment like on that usually?
It's like meeting, a few hours.
Okay, it's not like.
Yeah.
a day.
No, we go, I think we've started at 4
Mhm,
as opposed
yeah.
to 4:30
Until 6.
until 7 because we have dinner. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, the
it's
actual-
usually 7:30.
Before we have dinner, or by the time we're done?
By the time we're done with everything.
Yeah, I think we usually talk until 5:30, 6 o'clock, or then eat.
We overtalk.
Now, somebody does.
Wonderful. Do you have a day you're looking at?
So it's not like a retreat.
Well,
We're
that's
not
what I was
gonna-
just clarifying that part of it. You got it.
I'm relatively flexible around this board, except for every other Thursday evening. But in April,
I'm good after the 20th of April. That's our OCED meeting.
yeah,
I could do later that week.
And any time after that is good for me.
April 22nd, Wednesday.
That's Earth Day.
Oh, well, then never mind. I've got big plans.
Bigger.
We always host a big Earth Day party.
Could see that.
Can you do the 23rd?
It is the 20th.
No, 23rd back.
That's one of your,
Yeah,
22nd looks good. I just have to check one more thing.
Would we move the 20th meeting to the 22nd?
no.
no,
No?
no.
What about the 27th, which is the following Monday? Everything's closed, so I'm sure we're gonna pick up restaurants.
Yeah, that's fine for me. The 22nd is also fine. I have work to move, but I can move it.
22nd's good for me.
How's the 22nd? Your
22nd?
Yeah, how's that for you?
Yep.
That's okay by me.
Leslie, how's the 22nd?
That works perfectly for me. I've checked all my
Double check.
I'm
calendars.
good. I've got one more team I've got to check and return.
Okay.
Much to the chagrin of.
So that would be a 4 p.m. location. The last few years we have gone to Campagne in the private room in the back. So we close ourselves right off. And then they come in and serve us dinner right there. It'd be nice if we could go somewhere for someone that owes us money. But
We don't want to go into the jail cell
no,
or the big
Might-
cell?
no,
Might
not
not
going
be
into
closed.
it.
It's a bank vault.
Are you claustrophobic?
I am. Right. So we can check with the. you
Yeah,
can
we'll
check
find a
with
spot.
Campagne, or if there's another, so if we.
That room works good.
What's that?
That room works good.
It really does, because it can close the doors right up.
We
Does
might
that
not
work
do
for
that
Ed?
on a Wednesday, though.
Does it
I
work
think
for Ed?
at least last year we did that on a Monday and they're closed, and that's why they give us that room and they close it. No? All right. You know.
No, they were open last year.
Really?
Yeah,
Maybe
because
it's outside.
I adjourned to the other room.
Oh, well.
Ed, are you good then?
Yes, I have enough time to make some scheduling changes, so.
Good. You get there.
I know why.
John, I'll shout tomorrow
Okay.
if I have any issues.
Thank you for the clarification.
We're gonna talk about the 4 o'clock start still?
Yes,
4
please.
p.m.
If that works for everyone. Cool.
So for some reason, it says I have a planning meeting on OCED, a finance meeting on the 22nd.
You guys will be happy to do
Okay.
All right. Any other LDC business? Motion to- sorry.
Remote policy, schedule a motion to
So-
approve holding a public hearing.
Oh, yes.
Second?
Good catch.
Yep.
Aye. Okay, now a motion to adjourn.
You can just make sure they do the URA too, the second
All in favor?
remote policy.
Aye.
Oh, we have to do that in
For each one.
every meeting.
Every meeting, yeah, schedule.
Ed is going to be leaving us
Because you have to show to the state
the
that
next meeting.
Okay.
but there'll be one hearing.
Is Jen joining us?
Oh, I'm sorry. Jennifer had a personal emergency. She will not be joining us today.
So we don't have housing.
I have
Or you can speak to it.
I have just a narrative I'm going to read from her.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Thanks, Ed.
We got 4 p.m. on the 22nd or 4:30?
4 p.m.
4.
Thank you.
Okay, I will call the March 16th, 2026 meeting of the Fairport Urban Renewal Agency to order. And ask if there's any comment.
Because I don't know if I'll make it here till the end of the meeting. March 26th is the state of the village, state of the school, state of the town. I think they just publicized it this morning on their Chamber of Commerce's website. And I just wanted to make sure that you all.
What date is that?
It's a
Thursday,
Thursday.
March 26th. I might have said 22nd. It's the 26th.
Okay.
So it's next, not this Thursday, the following Thursday. It's lunchtime, it's 11 till 1. I think it's.
The
I'm not
Land
sure
House?
where it
It's at
is. on
DeLand
the
House.
website.
There is a fee for registration, so if you want to go, let me know and I'll register you.
So that
It's
was
from
my public
11 to
comment.
1.
I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware that it's taken a while for it to get out there. And please join if you would like to. I was told to limit my comments to 10 minutes. I think I can do that. I don't know if Brett can, but we'll see.
So we're going to hear from Jen Townsend,
Yes.
Parrington Supervisor, Julie Domeritz, Village Mayor, and Brett Provenzano,
Provenzano.
who is School Superintendent. Has it been done annually every year? Okay,
For
so it's
years.
just a little late this year. That's why you're saying,
Yeah, well, the date isn't late. Usually it's been in late March and in April. But the last few times, I think they've been moving it earlier because my response has been, I will be in North Carolina for the first 2 weeks of April, and I've done it remotely the first time that we went down there. And I think after that, they were like, let's see if we can change the date to get it live. But it really, he just got up onto the website, the link to register.
yeah,
I think
it's out there.
today.
It's out there. Okay, great. Thank you.
11 o'clock on the 3rd?
11.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, my calendar. You register me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else for sure they're in? You can register you.
I'll text you.
How much is register? I can't be there for the whole thing, but how much
It's
is
$40.
I mean, I can't come until noon, so that's.
That's a no?
Yeah.
All right. You're going to let me know?
Thank you.
You're out. Chairman?
To be determined.
Okay.
Is it for the land trust?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I called it to order, asked for public comment, I heard one, and now move to the approval of the URA minutes of February 17th.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Any questions or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Move to financial report, starting with resolution 2026-03, authorizing payment of the URA bills.
I reviewed the URA bills and journal entries, and I make motion to approve their payment.
Second that?
Any questions, comments? Jonna,
No comments.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is resolution 2026-03, authorizing payment of the section 8 bills.
I reviewed the section 8 bills and the journal entries, and I make motion to approve their payment.
Second that?
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. URA cash and investments. URA loan status. I believe that's current.
Everything's current. I do expect loan 630201. This borrower is planning to pay off their loan early. They've got a low
I
balance,
see
and
that.
so that'll come off at the end of after this month.
Okay. All right. Our other program, front porch grants. They starting to roll in?
Not yet.
One is pending, but I don't have the codes yet.
Yeah. Just a review and reminder, the front porch grants, I think we got to a place where if they are like 100% clean, we will approve them at the office level, still advise at the board level. But our intention still is to bring them for final approval, just because it's prudent. So that is our plan with front porch grants. Sometimes we, as the season comes around, we get into discussion like, are we supposed to review it? Are we not supposed to review it? Technically, we got to a place where you don't have to review it, but our intention is to continue to bring them just for final questions or discussion.
Do you follow up and watch the sales, the property sales? Because
As best we can. Yeah, as best we can. I can't say that we always have known every time a property goes for sale, but we do try to pay attention to that as a criteria.
I think the path you just clarified or laid out is great.
Okay, anything else on front porch grants? Okay, go to the Section 8 housing.
Okay, I'm going to read this narrative on behalf of Jennifer Sturgis. So regarding Rose Hollow is under contract, under a HAP contract with HUD. We're working on developing a waiting list for the property. So HUD regulations say that anyone who is on your existing waiting list over age 62 with a voucher, not a project-based voucher, their own housing choice voucher, should be offered a spot. So last week, the team sent out letters to anyone who is on our waiting list that meets that criteria, and they are waiting for a response to that, and that will create the waiting list for the property. On the Evergreen East and West conversation, it appears that the outreach to our agency may have been a little premature from the other agency, and there's a question around authority to do such a thing. So right now, that's tabled for us, and the decision is going to be with HUD as to who is the agency of record. So there's no decision for us to make at this point. The Section 8 team is working on their administrative plan to be compliant with the HOPMA regulations. They're basing that on the Nan McKay model of administrative plan, as we all are so familiar with.
I don't even know what HOPMA is. So.
They do have to have a resident advisory board committee. So they'll have the resident advisory board. They canvass folks who are actual participants. Then they have a public hearing and then review and approval from the board, and that will all happen later this spring and this summer. Not all of the regulation and policy decisions have been determined yet for this plan. Please don't ask me any questions about that. We haven't received our final HAP funding award letter for 2026, but based on calculations, it appears that we're going to receive $235,000 more in HAP funds for 2026. That's based strictly on essentially inflation. So there's a formula based on the number of participants, what you're allowed, what is the rate they're giving for those. And that formula would result in this additional $235,000. We haven't received that yet. So that's an estimate by Jennifer based on her understanding and expertise and all those things, but hasn't been formally received. But there is an expectation that the increase will allow us to resume issuing turnover vouchers to applicants on the waiting list. So we'll have extra funds and we'll be able to backfill folks who fall off. We are still in shortfall, but expect to be out of shortfall any minute. We're not getting response from HUD. So we are reaching out directly to our own rep. We have a HUD rep, and then there's the HUD board. And our rep's going to help us get a response on that. That's the report. Any questions? Easy softball-like questions, or
So,
questions I could take back to
Yeah,
Jennifer
just,
to reply.
I think she said she was gonna open it up and we were gonna start taking new people in.
We are not off of shortfall. We are still in shortfall.
Because, I mean, we're still, our vouchers are declining.
Yeah, so we're still gonna watch the voucher numbers decline. Is that
How you understand it, Kevin?
Yes.
We are still in shortfall. That is the answer I have for you. We are not out of shortfall. Yes, the vouchers, I know you guys know this so much better than I do, but there are vouchers and there's the actual budget. And so while we aren't using all of our vouchers, we're using too much of our budget. And so we haven't gotten that quite right yet, although we expect we're pretty close. And so we're hopeful that it's been right-sized to where the budget numbers will align for next month and we'll be out of shortfall. Even though I understand our vouchers are falling, it's the budgetary reason is why we're in shortfall. Is that good enough?
It is,
Okay.
but if we start adding vouchers, once we come out of shortfall, and let's say that we pick up 10, just using a number, does that put us back in shortfall again, basically against the budget?
Potentially, but I believe that the new 2026 budget dollars are awarded to us approximately at that same time. So we should have that award letter any minute and we can work off of those dollars because we're in 2026. So we can be spending to that level, but it just hasn't been communicated to us. So Jen is doing the prudent hold back the reins thing and not get ahead of those dollars. But once we come out of shortfall, we should have this extra $235,000 to write that.
That's what I was hoping.
Okay. Any of that might not be true. I'm not sure.
Just wanted to show you, don't forget that remote.
Oh, thank you, yes.
Motion.
Oh,
you.
thank you.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any old business for URA? New business? Anything for the good of the order?
I'll just state, it's the magical time of year when we raise funds for cancer by gently wagering on college athletics.
This doesn't need to get minted with.
It's for the cancer.
Okay,
Give them-
there. Hey, go cancer.
This is review for you. We do this every year.
I know, I'm aware. Just
So if anybody wants to get
defining
involved,
it.
you have an email in your inbox right now. Feel free to ignore it. Feel free to share it with friends, family. But we've raised $25,000 over the past 13 years just by doing something we would have done anyways. So
My 7-year-old is going to be thrilled.
the winner of the bracket every year gets to have a voice in where the funds go. But last year it was the Pancreatic Cancer Association of Western New York. Generally, we try to keep it local, but there's folks now that participate from all over the country, so what might be local for them as the winner may not be local here.
How many entrants are you getting now?
There's usually about between 120 and 140. So 50% of the pot goes to the cancer-centric organization, and the winner gets 40% of the pot, and second place gets 10, and all funds are accounted for.
I never do.
Is it possible?
I just.
Potentially. I also just sent it 15 minutes before the board meeting
Yeah,
started.
sure, I got it.
Thank you, guys.
I might
Do
actually.
you want to do brackets, or do you want this to go donation only? You can do that if you're not into college basketball.
Oh, I'm
Do
gonna
the
try.
bracket.
I'm going to lose,
I love it.
but I'm gonna try. That's right.
then thank you for prepaying. And yeah, if you have any questions on the email instructions,
Okay.
oh,
Is it just part of that big ESPN?
it's like a Yahoo Sports, same thing. The same thing as an ESPN website that does them as well. You have to create a Yahoo Sports account. Once you do that, all the details are in the email in regards to the steps you'll take in finding yourself in the right bracket. And then it's on you to pick by mascot, by color.
Try to get my bracket format.
You know,
The CEO of my company was going to type it into ChatGPT
Yeah.
and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Have a 7-year-old consultant available if you need it. It's very good.
I have a opinion.
See, enjoy it.
in my house. I love it more.
He won.
There's no wrong
21st
approach to
for
this.
this.
My 79-year-old mother
For like a month.
2 years
goes
ago-
off her own hunches and came in third place very recently.
Wow.
So,
2
Yeah.
years ago, I finished second in my office pool. There's like 60 of us, you know.
Amy,
For absolutely.
Heather
no
just
reason.
motioned to adjourn.
Yeah, I second,
Love
all
it.
agree.
Thank you.
And who the second came from.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Well, if I don't, if it's not there by the morning, I'll contact you and request a recess.